Welcome to this episode of the Connecting Faith to Life podcast. I'm Trey Rhodes, the Connections Pastor at Northwood Baptist Church here in North Charleston, South Carolina. In just a few moments, our lead pastor, Dr. Tommy Metter, will be joining the conversation as well. In our crazy and chaotic world, our hope is that these few minutes will help you stop and reflect on your relationship with Jesus as you learn to connect Christ-centered faith to your everyday life. And this is episode 185 of the Connecting Faith to Life podcast. So welcome to it as you continue to slodge through all that we've been through over these last few years, and appreciate you listening and appreciate you being a part. It's great to go out there and encourage people. But I actually had one guy say, Pastor Tommy, you're not going to believe this. He said, I didn't know about that.
I don't believe that.
I said, bro, it's on everything. But anyway, he said, well, I'm going to have to start listening. So we'll see what he thinks after that.
There you go.
Anyway, do the same thing as you listen and want to share that information. You know, just let people know on a personal level, Twitter, Facebook, text them, call them, whatever it takes. Even in your Life Connection group, explain to them what it means to listen to Connecting Faith to Life. Well, Pastor, we had a great session last week when we talked about kids, and we kind of heard I thought a very good spiritual impact, how we can have spiritual impact on our kids. And I appreciate everything you said. So it's kind of...
Today it's your turn.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's kind of on me today.
It's on you.
And I wish I could tell you that I was as spiritual as you are, but I'm not.
Pastor Pops, you are.
You
are who I want to be when I grow up.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, I thought you wanted to be Alice.
Yeah, she's a pretty inspirational. If you were here with our annual meeting Sunday night, we talked about one of our ladies who just at 86 years old is just going hard for Jesus and just an inspiration to us all. And I do want to be like her when I grow up.
She is a blessing.
Yeah.
But anyway, this is much more, I guess, more practical. Yours was much more biblically based.
Well,
and
yours is biblically based too.
What I did was I actually texted my kids and I talked to them and asked, is there anything that you would say about the way that your mom and I raised you? And we had some interesting impact from comments from my daughter, my son, especially Ivy. Mm-hmm. We did things like they had to read the amount that they read, they got time on their video games.
Well, that makes sense.
So if they read an hour, they got an hour on video games. Yeah. Now, if they read the Bible, they got double.
Oh, nice.
So if they read the Bible for 30 minutes, they got an hour. So they like to read the Bible. Well, but the interesting thing is now they like to read the Bible. So
do they like to read it then?
No.
Did you get a lot of pushback on that?
Oh, we got pushback. Ivy's word was, let's see if I could find that. He said, anyway, he just said that it was like a knife in his stomach every time he had to read. Yeah, not to read the Bible, but to read so that he could get video game time.
But that's good, though. That's good.
And what it was self-restricting. So, in other words, if they wanted to read 2 hours, they could do video games for 2 hours. But they just couldn't get on for 8 hours just because they felt like it.
That's right.
Anyway, we didn't have all the restrictions, abilities that y'all have now where you could cut off. But anyway, it was things like that they said. And Addie said, very interesting, my oldest daughter, she said that if she could have a book called The Road's Way and use it, she would. I said, wow.
That's really encouraging.
That is a wow.
So I guess you and your wife did a good job.
Well, probably Kelly more than I. Being a pastor is just it's difficult.
It's tough to balance the family obligations and the work obligations and the life obligations. I mean, everybody's pulled in a million different directions. I know that, but it seems like we as pastors, there's some different kinds of pulls that make life a challenge sometimes. And so, being a pastor's kid is quite interesting. I wonder. We'll see. I feel like my kids got it pretty good. We'll see what they say when they get older about what it was like to be a pastor's kid. I don't know.
It will be interesting. They will have good stories that you had no idea were going on.
That's right. I mean, I think about being a pastor's kid, and this isn't the topic for the day, but being a pastor's kid, it probably largely depends on the church they grow up in.
Mm-hmm, I agree.
And I feel like, my kids are growing up in an excellent church, and they're loved on so much that I'm hoping that when they're older, they're going to look back on their days as a pastor's kid and say, man, that was really, really cool and a blessing. So, but I think the church that you're in has a lot to do with that. So, and we're in a great church. So that helps.
We are. And I always, as a pastor, I wanted my church to be a church, especially when it comes to kids ministry and the student ministry. I wanted that to be the kind of church that they would go to if they were choosing a church.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So here's what we did last week. Last week, what we did is we talked about 5 things I'm learning me, Tommy Metter, what I'm learning as a parent. I'm in the midst of parenting right now with two kids, one 12, one 8. So I'm in the throes of it. And so we talked about what I'm learning right now. And Pops, you are on the flip side. You have grandkids. You have raised your kids. They are out of the house. They are thriving in life. You have kids that are in ministry.
Yeah.
They're all serving the Lord, but then you have a couple kids that are actually in vocational ministry, serving as pastors and school principals at a Christian school. So you've done well. By the grace of God, God has blessed you and Kelly,
brother.
and you've raised some great kids. And so I thought it'd be interesting for you to have an opportunity to say, okay, we listen to what Pastor Tommy is learning right now, but let's talk about what Pastor Trey, on the flip side, has learned about parenting. And you're going to give us today all kinds of golden nuggets of wisdom because you've done it and done it well. And so you're going to give us all the tricks of the trade. And because of today's episode, we're all going to be better parents because of you.
Well,
right?
We can only hope.
We can hope. We'll see how it works out.
But in all seriousness, I do want to give a huge shout out to my wife. She was so good about reining me in when I needed to be reined in, you know, and reminding me. I think I've told this story, but one time, you know, I was so proud of myself because I was keeping my promises to the church, and I said something proudly, you know, well, I keep my promises, you know, I'm a promise keeper, and we'd just been to Promise Keepers. I was so proud, and she says, yeah, to everybody but your family. You know, that was a wake-up call for me.
I guess that would be a wake-up call.
So, and PK did have a big part of that. Promise Keepers, for those that know, was a men's thing that we did years ago now, and it was a big part of us being accountable to each other as me as a pastor and to my men in my church and other things. Yeah. Well, I have this attitude, I don't know how to say it. I tend to want to irritate people. It's fun for me to do that. It really is fun.
You are an irritating man. This is true.
So anyway, the scripture that Kelly has used with me constantly is Colossians 3:21. Fathers, do not exasperate, /irritate, I know that's not the word, but exasperate your children so they won't become discouraged. So I had to learn how to be, I was good at discipline. I wasn't as good at the grace part and the love part. But I learned over the years and we're going to talk about that in a minute, I'm getting ahead of myself, but I learned to be more loving and to love as hard as I disciplined, or harder even so. So that was good for us. And Kelly could call me on that because I told her to. You know, I said, please call me on this when I'm overboard. I did want them to be men, especially my boys. They were the first two, so I did want them to be men. And you know, us men, we love each other by irritating each other. I mean, that's just part of what we do. We hit on each other, we run each other down, and that's us saying, "I love you lots, man."
That's right. When you're dogging out another guy, that's your way of saying, "I love you."
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It really is,
which is terrible, but that's the way it is.
So I wanted my boys to be, those kind of guys that understood that. So anyway. So with that in mind, that's kind of how I decided, okay, what did I do in my life to say, okay, this is what I want to do to raise my boys and my girls to be who they need to be in Jesus.
So we're talking about, for you, what you got here are just some things that you learned and some ways to avoid some parenting pitfalls, right?
Yeah.
So 5 ways to avoid some parenting pitfalls from Pastor Trey's perspective. He's going to give us all the golden nuggets of wisdom. And the first one was this: spend time together. It all counts. Do things they like as well. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, what I mean is that I like to spend time with my kids when it was on my time. And I did. I would bring Ivy with me, especially as a young little boy. We would go. He would even go visitation with me, hospital, and all kind of things. We would go down. I would teach him to pray for people. Yeah. And all those things. We would go to homes. Not all the time, but we did do that. Even when I worked in the secular world, I would bring him to work with me, and with the idea that he would go, because I was a traveling salesman, so I wouldn't go into the office. We would be out doing work out there, and I actually lost him at a car dealership one time because of that.
That's not good.
He decided to get out of the car. I said, hold on one second, I'll be right back. But anyway, there are risks, so just be careful. But I found out that we need to spend time together, and it's not always my stuff. I think well, I'm spending time, I'm telling him to do this. I'll sit down, watch NASCAR with me, sit down, watch football with me, or whatever it was, or go to the race or go to the game or whatever. But it was so much more than that. I had to, if they like video games, guess what I did? I was in their room playing video games with them on the floor, yelling and screaming because I didn't do it right, and they were trying to teach me. Of course, they were much better than me. But just doing those kind of things that they liked. I would go to they started a little band, and they would be mad that I said little. But anyway, they started a band, and so I would go to these band places, band venues that I had no desire to be at, just to listen to them and to be a part and support them and scream and holler and raise my fist and all the stuff you're supposed to do. As this old guy at all these 19, 18-year-olds, but those kind of things that they enjoyed doing, I felt like I needed to be a part of their life as much as they were a part of mine, if that makes sense. So, and then, of course, we spent the time. We always had the other time we spent was at the dinner table. We spent a lot of time at the dinner table. We always came to the dinner table every single night. There was no excuse not to be there. If we would schedule our dinner table, and everything was scheduled around that. Sundays, was also a day. It was just Sunday, and it was a time for our family or our church. Those are the two things we did. They would say, "Dad, can I?" And they'll always answer was, "Sorry, son, we got something planned. We got something planned." So that's kind of the first thing. I felt like the more time I spent with them, the better I was able to affect their lives and bring them up as they. And I want them to be that as well to their children.
That's right. So just that time is so important. And number 2, let boys be boys and girls be girls, because you have both. I have just boys, but you got them. You got all.
Yeah, we got boys and girls, and so it was a transition to go from the boys to the girls.
Because you had your 2 boys first and then your daughters.
Yeah, and that comes, I'm going to talk about what the transition, how that worked in a minute. But so when my boys were growing up, when Ivy was 1 year old, I decided to give him it's a big joke in our family, a football radio. I don't know why.
A football radio.
It was a football, and it sat on a
radio
tee.
that was shaped like a football.
Yeah, and you could cut
I remember those. Yeah.
And Kelly says, "What is he going to do with a football at 1 year old?" I said, "I just want him to have I want him to have a football when he's young." And so anyway, we from the very beginning we played sports. We played hard. Right. We did all kinds of things.
Boy things, yeah.
Absolutely. We did baseball, football. We did go-kart racing. I made sure that the boys were always doing those kind of boy things that they love. I mean, they love doing. We went to NASCAR together. We go camping together. All the RAs things. I was at my seminary church. I was the RA leader.
Yeah, if you don't know what RAs is, Royal Ambassadors was real big back in the olden days. It was I guess kind of a boys club in the church, right?
Very similar to Boy Scouts sort of thing with Bible put into it. Right. And we did Pinewood Derby. Oh my heavens, we spent hours in Pinewood Derby and racing those things and the boy things that the boys like doing. And then of course it came to we would race each other and we'd run. I'd tackle them and I'd give them what I call noogies. I'd hold them on the head and I'd do that all the time and wanted them to be tough and rough. That was the idea. But then I had to make the transition because then my daughter Addie was born.
And girls were a little bit different.
Yeah, girls were a little bit different. So I had to start enjoying dolls.
You look like a doll guy.
I had to start enjoying fashion and talking about boots and shoes and clothes and baking and cooking and all those things because their lives are just they wanted to know daddy's approval as well.
That's right.
As a matter of fact, as a girl, I think girls want daddy's approval more even than boys.
Yeah.
They really want that opportunity. So I tried to spend a lot of time doing those kind of things. I'd tell them how beautiful they were and how beautiful their hair was. And I'd brush their hair for them and, just those kind of things that put me into their world. Now, I was a man, so I couldn't go into all their world, but I certainly could as much as, and what I do want to say that they did do other stuff with it. They went to the football games, they went to NASCAR and go-kart racing and those kind of things. But I did want them to know. I mean, one time, when I can't remember what the movie. There was a series of movies came out, and so everybody was dressing weird, like futuristic people. So the girls dressed futuristic, and I dressed futuristic, and we went to the movie together. Exactly. It's just that's something weird, but they wanted to do it, and they wanted me to go with them, and I did. And people might have thought I was funny as an old guy doing that, but it's okay because my girls loved it. They loved it.
Yeah.
So we determined that we would do that. Now the transition is this: I wrestled the boys. We had a big old mat, and on that mat we would wrestle. And I mean, they would cry and scream, and Kelly said, you're killing the children, you're killing the children. And I'd give them noogies, and I'd hold them down and all these things. Well, Addie would stand on the side, and she could not stand it. She would jump in the middle of it, immediately get hurt, immediately. I mean, within 5 seconds. We'd get her screaming, hollering, running out, and then she'd jump in again. And so this wrestling thing became a thing with our family where we would get this big old cushion and we'd just wrestle each other. And it was just like a free for all.
Yeah,
and so the girls kind of walked into the boys' lives and the boys kind of walked into the girls' lives.
Good.
So
that's good.
That was kind of our transition.
Good. Let boys be boys and girls be girls. And number 3, watch over their souls, both spiritually and emotionally.
Yeah, we felt like that it was our responsibility as parents to watch over the souls. It wasn't just you go to church and you listen there and, listen to what they say and I'm not going to do anything about it. And as a pastor, again, that's a temptation because you have built a church to be a discipling church, and you want them to get discipled at church, whether it's through in our situation, we did a lot of discipling through our RAs and through our GAs, but we wanted that to happen.
Yeah.
And so we had to say, okay, how then do we as parents pour into their lives and say, okay, on a spiritual level, we want to be careful. We want to make sure that you're listening to the right things, that you make spiritual things important in your life. And giving back to the reading thing, that's why the Bible was important. We had time with the Lord every single day. I shouldn't say, we never missed a day. What we did miss was Sundays because I felt like I was just overboard. Yeah. We'd already done things
all day.
And Wednesday night actually as well. They had a big church on Wednesday night as well. So other than Wednesday and Sunday night, we had devotions every single night. We prayed with them. They would sing little. Ivy, when he was young, would sing little songs to us, which was hilarious, in a good way. And Ben would get up there and do that, and then Addie would have to join them. And then we would, after they would sing, we would have a scripture reading. I tried to make it short. I never made it like this 80-minute thing. I wanted it to be short, succinct, to the point, and we watched over them in that way spiritually. We also watched over them on an emotional level. Yeah. And what I'm saying, in a relationship level, we were very careful if they ever spent the night out. We were very super careful. Yeah. We actually had them. I said, I don't care what movie they're watching, you call me, because a movie can be rated G.
And still be a terrible movie. That's right.
Exactly. Yeah. So they did, and we had to bring. There was 2 times I remember we had to bring kids home. We said, well, you're just gonna have to come home, because they wouldn't change the movie. I said, that's fine. So, we watched over things. When they got older, of course, we were very careful. We had dating standards. We wanted them to we wanted to pour into their lives so that they didn't get their emotions over top of their spiritual life, if that makes sense, and say, oh, well, this is how I feel, and that's what matters the most. So we poured a lot and spent a lot of time on who they would date and why they would date and who they were dating. We actually read the book when it was popular, Kiss Dating Goodbye, which my son Ivy hates.
I hate it too.
Yeah.
It really messed up my dating life in college.
Yeah, I know. And those are learning curves. Yeah, I think we went overboard. Not that we didn't allow him to date, by the way, but we wanted him to read the book. So even when Addie was, I still have Addie's dating standards that she wrote out for me before she started dating, and so she listed all those things out that she would do, and then we held them to the account. Yeah. On those things, That's good. So we felt like we were also not just their spiritual protectors, but we were their emotional protectors. That's good. And so we watched over them and cared for them. And we would, bring the guys in. We would, if they couldn't bring the guy into our house or bring the gal into our house, then I don't really feel comfortable. Well, then, okay, that's over. It's not going to happen. One interesting thing, and this is kind of the beginnings of the social media craze that we have now, they have what they call ICQ. And it just ICQ, but it was
kind of a chat thing. Was that a chat thing?
Yeah. I seek you, but it was anyway. The point was that Ivy had begun to like a girl on there. Oh, and would not talk to her, although he knew her from school. Would not talk to her, but he would talk to her on ICQ. And we said, that's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I said, relationships work.
Yeah, that's not how you emotionally deal with relationships is online. So we were strict, again, from the very beginning, we were very strict about that. So those are just some things that we did. And again, it wasn't as far along as they are today. Yeah. Ivy is super strict. Ben is super strict. My girls' kids aren't old enough yet, but they're both super strict on their kids about what kind of what they do online.
Yeah, you have to be. Yeah.
Group chats are completely out. Yeah, you know. If they can sit there and watch the computer what their kids chatting with, they'll do that. But They're just super strict, and I think you just have to be. So, we have to make decisions based on what's happening today.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
So we watched over the souls, both emotionally and spiritually, and I hope it helped. So.
Yeah, that's good, Trey. Number 4, discipline hard, love harder. You began to talk about this a little earlier, but what do you mean, discipline hard and love harder?
Well, I've always been a good disciplinarian, and that doesn't always mean spanking. When you discipline a child, occasionally it does. And we tried to keep that to a minimum. We didn't spank for everything. Ivy says one of his things is, Dad, I just want to know what you do when your kids leave your tools out in the rain. That's one of his texts this past time. So, I didn't spank them. My boys left the tools out in the rain.
Yeah.
But what they had to do is either get them clean, and get them right back where they were, put them back where they belonged, or if they were ruined, which happened once or twice, they had to save up their money and buy me a new tool.
There you go.
It wasn't a spanking; it was just childish
indiscretion. But there was
indiscretion.
still a consequence, right?
Yeah, there was consequences, and I made a determination between childish indiscretion and between what I call rebellion, spit in the face rebellion.
Yeah.
Occasionally that did happen, and so you had to do some, drastic things. Our drastic thing was we would paddle very, very, very careful in our discipline. I never ever slapped the children. I never ever. Did it out of emotion. I would make them go to their room. They sat for 30 minutes. I calmed down. They calmed down. And then it became discipline for me as much as it was for them.
Right.
And we would, at the end, they had to come into my arms and say, Daddy, I'm sorry. And then we prayed and asked the Lord to forgive us for what we did, rebellion against our parents. So, and that did happen. But we wanted to make sure that we disciplined well outside of just a spanking. So what I determined, though, that when the discipline was over, it was over.
Right.
Okay, I didn't say, okay, you've been a bad boy today. This is what I'm going to do. You're not going to go out for 2 hours and then hold it against them the rest of the day because they were bad at the beginning of the day.
When it's done, it's done.
Yeah, and it's this idea that the price has been paid.
Yeah,
I would tell them. I would point them to Jesus, that Jesus paid for our sin, and judgment has been paid, and then the price has been paid. You've paid the judgment now. It's over. We're going to have fun the rest of the day.
Yeah.
And then we would have a blast. The rest, I never held it over their heads. I never said you are a bad boy and da-da-da-da. It was never that. It was always, or a bad girl. It was always, okay, how do we then say, I love you deeply? And I love this always gets to me. I love my children so deeply. I mean, I just never imagined that you could love somebody like you love a child.
That's right.
And anyway, so that's what Kelly has helped me with, is not to be, I was a good disciplinarian, but I would just kind of let it go. So I said, I'm going to love even greater than I discipline. I'm going to be stronger in my love. So that's kind of what we did. I hope it helped. My kids say that they have few complaints. They do have some, and they've learned from mistakes that we made. But anyway, that's the fourth one.
That's good. Finally, be who you are all the time. What do you mean by that, Pops?
Well, we made a commitment as mom and dad to be mom and dad. Okay, so my kids knew that I was the same person, good or bad. Now, I'm telling you, that doesn't always mean good.
That's right.
I was the same person at the house as I was in the pulpit.
Yeah.
They didn't hear me badmouth people from the pulpit, nor did they hear me badmouth people at home.
That's good.
They didn't hear me use language that I wouldn't use with church people in the pulpit. They didn't hear me do that because I didn't. The way I acted, the way I responded to people, I didn't treat them somehow differently. And I wouldn't say you're in church. One of the things we really shied away from was you're in church. You got to act a certain way.
Act the church way and then act the home way.
Yeah,
right.
and I said that, there were certain things. Don't run up and down the aisle during the worship service. Right. But we didn't let them run around when we had company either, and we explained that to them. But anyway, the point is that we took them and said, okay, Daddy is who he is. Daddy is not perfect, and I never claimed to be perfect. Mommy is who she is. Mama's not perfect. She never claimed to be perfect. but we're not going to be a different person in front of different people.
Yeah.
And Ivy, one of the text messages Ivy sent me, he says, I saw a real consistency in y'all's lives.
That's good.
You know, it wasn't a matter of, well, that's how Daddy is in church. Now, when he gets home, he watches filthy things, speaks filthy, and acts like an idiot. So that was kind of the idea. Even the way I treated them, they knew that they could come to my office at any time. And when they came to the office, if I was in the middle of counseling, I said, "You're going to have to wait, son. I'm in the middle of counseling." But there were sometimes I did. But most of the time, I'm just doing study or, trying to do church things, whatever I was doing. And they could knock on we had a back door to the office. They could knock on the door, and I'd open the door, and they would come in and hang out with me for a while and tell me their little thing they wanted. And I wanted them to know that just like they did that at home, they could do that at church.
You're accessible.
Very accessible. And so we always wanted to be that same, give them a consistent life. Sometimes not so good. Sometimes, it is messy. I will tell you this, and I think you said this in your discussion, that, being a parent is hard stuff. It's one of the hardest things we've ever done. And it doesn't mean that it's easy and that it's somehow to be consistent. There were times that I had to be a break. I had to put a break on myself because I knew I was going beyond the boundaries of where I should be, because I promised my kids that I would be the same. I told them, I want you to have a daddy that's the same at church that he is at home. And anyway, so that helped, I think, the kids see a consistency, and I think that made them want to get in the ministry. I think they understood, well, this is how we live. I don't live this way because I'm a pastor. I live this way because
you follow Christ.
I follow Christ. Exactly.
That's good.
So those are some lessons that we learned. And I think it was, not all. Kelly's probably going to hit me with 3 more when I get home, and that's okay.
I'm sure.
But these were some of the big ones that kind of got us through and helped us to move our kids to where we thought they should be as followers of Christ, and then eventually as serving the Lord throughout their lives. So that's where we are.
That's encouraging. Well, I know all of your children, and they are all wonderful and serving the Lord. And, obviously, because of your commitment and Kelly's commitment to the Lord, and because of the grace of Jesus Christ, y'all did well.
Amen.
And I know you're very thankful,
We're
for how God has graciously worked in the lives of your children. And so I think these are some nuggets of wisdom, Pops. And so I thank you for sharing these today. And I think it's an encouragement to me as one who's in the midst of parenting. And I know this is going to be an encouragement to others as they listen as well. And so I hope today that as you've listened to this episode, it has been an encouragement to you. And if you have liked what you've heard, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you can have new content delivered to your device every single week. Leave us a 5-star review. That helps us get word out about the podcast. And as always, we hope today's episode has helped you connect faith to life.